Reddit. What is the most mind-effingly scary picture on the internet? This picture of Mademoiselle Blanche Monnier, the woman held captive by her mom and brother for 25 years. For me, this is the scariest photo, taken during the Chernobyl meltdown. The black lava, elephant's foot, has molten directly out of the reactor's core. This picture of the young girl stuck under her house and submerged in water after an earthquake. They knew she was going to die, but they could do nothing about it without removing her legs, which would have killed her because they didn't have supplies. This photo of a shell-shocked soldier in World War I. No doubt it's faked, but this photo still freaks me out. What is the scariest thing you have witnessed with your own eyes? A job I used to work at, my boss had a heart attack in his office and died in the middle of the shift. The office lights were motion activated, so we thought he left to go something as it was dark. I went into the office to get a new radio and there he was, leaned back in his chair with his eyes wide open. Scariest thing I've ever seen. Saw an old man slip and die at a bus stop in Portland early in the morning when I was a teenager. That was sad. But what really shook me was the way he was picked up by an ambulance. The sidewalk was washed off and they left. Within 15 minutes people were occupying that space waiting for a bus, and it was like it had never happened. 15 years old. Driving home from work with my mom late at night. Saw emergency lights ahead and we're eager to see what was going on. It ended up being 3 of my friends, killed on impact in a single vehicle car accident. My mom had just went through that intersection 10 minutes earlier on her way to get me. We stayed there for several hours and watched their cell phones light up in the wreckage before they pulled the car apart to get the bodies out. Dead body whose skin was literally moving because of all the maggots under it. Freaky AF. Serious. Ex-prisoners of Reddit. Who was the most evil person there? And what did they do that was so bad? English guy here. I spent 4.5 months in prison in 2018. There was a guy who was really nice. Seemed like a genuine guy. That was until I found out he strangled his drunk wife to death and left her there whilst he went to work the next morning. My friend's dad was a volunteer chaplain taking care of prisoners' religious needs at the county jail. He came into our criminal justice class to talk about working at a jail. He told us that the most evil people at a jail are the ones that show no remorse for their actions. He saw the guy that killed the foreign exchange student that attended the University of Utah, and he told us that the guy didn't seem to care at all. He was calm about everything. Heard a story that some inmates would put broken glass in their feces and throw it at CO's faces, so when they would wipe the stuff away from their eyes, the glass cuts them. One of the women on my wing cut up her lover and put his body parts in an empty TV box, then put the TV box on his mother's doorstep. Ex-prisoners of Reddit, what are your horror stories, things you wish you could unsee, and how did you cope with it while locked up? The story my uncle told is he was in a cell with like 16 guys. Occasionally the guards would open the door, spray a bunch of pepper spray, close the door, put on gas masks and then come in swinging batons. In some county jails they have 190 degrees water taps. They're there so inmates can make oatmeal, soup, or coffee without a microwave or any kitchen appliances. Well, sometimes when there were fights, you would see an inmate fill a cup with 190 degrees water and a glob full of Vaseline. Then he would throw it on his opponent. Watching that will stick with me for a while. Mainly the terrible scream the man made as the Vaseline stuck to his face. He was taken to medical right after that. He had third-degree burns all over his face and hands. The sound of a guy getting locksocked by several other inmates. Ex-prisoners of Reddit, what was the worst thing you saw inside the prison walls? I spent 6 years in prison. 1 month in I watched a crip-on-crip gang stabbing. They stabbed the guy 60+ times while he was curled up in a ball screaming help. But nobody could because you'd be a target next. He somehow survived, but I couldn't tell you how. I think about it every day. Saw someone break a small branch off a tree in the yard, dry it out in the sun, sharpen it down to a point on the concrete and then stab a guy in the back with it 4 times. He had to be airlifted to hospital because it punctured his lung. English female prison. I saw a woman get held down by 2 others while a third woman proceeded to shove her hand up the woman's vagina to check if she had came in with a parcel. This was in the communal showers, so yeah, addicts don't give an F. Not prison but jail. 6 months pregnant and her water broke. CEOs didn't believe her and waited to take her to the hospital until she was hemorrhaging. The baby died and the woman was released because they didn't want to pay medical costs. This was 2004-ish. I died last night, but I'm still here. So this actually happened last week. It just took me some time to come to terms with it. I got a phone call from my next door neighbor late in the evening asking if I can help him move a mattress into his upstairs. His mom is ill and has a big heavy sleep number bed. I of course ran over to help because they're great neighbors. I get over there and his friend, who is also a priest, was there to help. I helped them figure out how to separate the mattress from the bed so we could fit it upstairs. We get it all moved up and back in place when my neighbor asks if I can help them move an armoire upstairs too. I think nothing of it and we pull it out of his travel trailer and start bringing it up the front stairs of his house. This is where I died. The front stairs are 11 steps. I was on the lower end of the armoire about 6 steps up when my neighbor and his friend lose a handle on the armoire and it comes crashing down on me and I fall backwards towards the pavement. I then wake up in my dining room to my phone ringing and my wife asking me if I'm going to answer the phone. It's my neighbor asking me if I can help move a bed upstairs for his mom. I go over there and meet his priest friend again. As this has been the first time I met him, I say I can help with the bed but I cannot help with the armoire. My neighbor was like, how'd you know about the armoire? I then proceeded to tell them I'm pretty sure I just died. I spent the next hour talking with the priest. He had so many questions. My neighbor didn't believe it until I described the upstairs bedroom in perfect detail down to the metal mattress frame on the floor and the intricate headboard leaning against the wall. And I had never been upstairs in their house before. The priest asked me what I saw after I died. I told him I never actually died. Before it happened I woke up at my dining room table. Serious. Redditors who were almost murdered. What's your story? I was working at a gas station. It was at night and slow, so I was sitting in the office watching TV. All of a sudden, one guy comes in behind me. Another guy comes in front of me. Guy in front says don't get up. I give him the wad of cash from my breast pocket, and then the money from my front pocket. They rush out back into the darkness. I stay put, just like the guy said. Then I call the owner. A car pulls up to get gas. I tell them they need to pay by credit card or exact change because I just got robbed. Then I reach up to touch my neck. It was bloody. The guy in back was holding a knife to my throat. A mentally ill kid in my school stalked me for a week and made plans to kill me. He said it was cause I made fun of him. Turns out he thought I was someone else. So there's that. The teacher said the video footage was creepy. I'd be walking down the halls and he was behind me, just staring. His plan was to put a shank in my neck. A teacher caught him before he stabbed me and I remember the kid left in police cuffs. What is your scariest Home Alone story? The other night I'm asleep in my apartment. I hear my front door open but just figure it's my sister coming over to crash on my couch because she got in a fight with her boyfriend. Happens sort of regularly. She's the only one with a key to my apartment. I heard her moving around and figured she was just getting settled and making something to eat. I go back to sleep and think nothing of it. Wake up the next morning for work and she's not there. Weird since it was 5 a.m. So I text and ask if she came over. She says no. I check my doors and the door to the outside I rarely use was left unlocked. TV picture froze, loud buzz, and a loud voice screamed I hate you, and then I'll kill you. It sounded like a woman whose local cords were tearing from how hard she was yelling it. Then the TV reset. What's the creepiest thing that's happened when you were camping or alone? Solo camping for the first time, intense struggling to sleep and all of a sudden hear what sounds like a demon screaming and beating its chest. Then another one. Turns out koalas make effing blood-curdlingly horrible noises at night. Wish I knew. I used to sleepwalk when I was younger but only really found out the first year I went away for summer camp. I would shower at night and go to bed clean, but wake up with mud completely caked up to my knees and no clue. Didn't happen to me, but not long ago, maybe 3 months ago, I was camping and awoke to a family near me whose child had been abducted in dead set middle of the night. Major search operation underwent, and after 3 weeks or so, I think, the child was found alive and well. Needless to say, we'll never camp at that spot again.